Hello everybody and welcome back to another basing video. This is as much an introduction as it is a tutorial, I suppose. This is something brand new. Now you have seen me use some of the Armoured Wolf grass and flower tufts on previous videos on the Patreon page and here on the channel. But now we've got something a little bit more official that's about to happen. And yes, replica nature. So this is from Armored Wolf. Really, this is kind of a sample pack right here. So I thought I'd do a little bit of a unboxing on this and also get down to just putting a couple of things on some figures here. Now I've got some fantastic miniatures from Kurzlook. This is a regular GW Harad figure right here. But what I want to do is throw some Tufts on there and a few other things. It's going to be a bit like what we did, and I think this video is already up on the channel here with some flocks, some cut leaves on these Rivendell Knights. And I also use the same texture roller from Green Stuff World. We'll get into all that stuff later. What I did want to show is that, and I just want to open it. It clearly has not been opened up yet. So we're going to open this guy up right here. Open this thing up. Now, as it says, save the twine. I will be doing a video on this. Basically, what you do is you sort of unravel this, and you can use it for long grass. And I really need that for some of my Candace stuff, actually. I really like some of that for here. This is also an Armored Wolf grass tuft, but I would like some really long tufts for this. Also, 72 mil stuff, right? When it gets to be larger figures like this and you need grass tufts, well, it's no, look, more Armored Wolf tufts and flower tufts. So I'm pretty sure we did that in one of our Patreon videos. So again, here we've got a nice little sample pack. Look at that. Oh, look, more of our fantastic tufts that we've been using for Candish stuff. And check this out. Where's my Harad? So we've been using these not only for Harad, but also as winter tufts. And then we've got some summer tufts. So we might be using some of these also on our elves. And then here's a sample pack. Nice little sample pack showing each of the different colors here. This way you can kind of make a choice. Yeah, do I really want the pink, this, or this? And that's where choices come in, right? Do we really want to match this purple very closely? Or do we go with something like this that's going to stand out a bit more? Or do we go with the darker one? It's not that easy to choose. It's really not all that easy to choose, but you can see just how fantastic these are. Just open this up. So a wonderful little sample pack again. This is the replica nature here. Now, we'll just go into a couple of the other things that we're going to use. Blended turf here from Woodland Scenics. I mean, this is just a very basic type thing. I'd sometimes mix this with other colors and sometimes the Luke's APS. This, I can even use it on my trees. I've used this on terrain an awful lot. So speaking of Luke's APS, we're going to be using the fast drying basing glue also to secure our leaves, right, which were cut with Green Stuff World leaf cutter. And I do believe that the video with our Rivendell elves has a little session on how to use the leaf cutter, so we won't get into that here. I will put a link in the description though for you. Now that means we're going to need just a bottle cap here, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to be mixing some water with it to thin it down. So we'll already get that in. It's going to break that down nice and thin. Let that break down over the course of time. Here's a little bit of again, the Luke's APS ground cover. This is the forest floor cover, so we're going to be mixing that in with the green flock there. So again, save this twine. And at some point I will be doing a video on this, at least how to make these, because I do actually have a video on making your own grass tufts. I know I did that at one point as well. So here's a couple. Again, do I go with this lighter stuff? I don't know. We have to choose next, right? Now the bases themselves, right here. This is one of those Green Stuff World texture rollers, and I just got some of the brand new ones in, and we're going to be doing some videos on those too. We've got the Steampunk roller, we've got the Arcane, we've got the Norse roller, and I do believe That's right here. So the Arcane Norseman. Oh, and the Templar Abbey. I think that's another new one. I don't think I have that one yet, but I've got those first two. We're going to be doing some videos on those very quickly. I've also got several videos on how to actually roll out the texture. All right, so there's, again, some of the texture rollers. Yeah, and you'll probably start out with just a flat one or a piece of PVC pipe, whatever. Roll out your Sculpey on a ceramic tile, very important. Now, they've got those green guides. There's different thicknesses. Pretty much I've only ever used the thinnest one. Maybe I've tried the thicker one, but not really for the texture rollers. So you can see we got a nice flat sheet here. Again, ceramic tile, really, really important. And look, there are our rollers in place. We got our guides there. We got a nice long sheet. And then we're just going to get that set to roll. We have to secure the one end, because if you don't, it just kind of like follows the roller, and you don't want that. That's not going to work so well. There you go. A nice flat sheet. And again, all you have to do now is just bake that. And there's instructions on the Sculpey, whether it's Celsius, Fahrenheit, whatever. So it's a little view on how to actually bake the Sculpey. And the miniatures themselves, oh look, it's the February release from Kurzlook Minis. Yes, we printed out a bunch of these. I'll even link the session where we painted some of these on Twitch. I'm going to be doing a regular painting video on the TMM as well. So again, that is the March release from Kurzlook. So next up, what are we going to do? We're going to try and decide what flower tufts we want to use. And we'll get those put on there, and then possibly even our leaves as well. So let's get to that next. It's time to make some choices here. So we'll break out this one, and this one probably matches the color of the miniature closest, but do we necessarily want to match the miniature? Or do we want something like this that's going to stand out a bit more? So these and the violet there, that's also one of the colors, but it sort of stands out a lot less. You could go yellow because you have the gold armor. You also, it's kind of an opposite to all of the purples, which is why we have the gold accent there. So pretty much any one of these is a possible choice. Now, I'm just gonna go with the lighter pink ones here, just to see. Now I have this little, just a pin. The glue that's on these is really nice and strong. Look at this. See that? And it's also very flexible, which is really handy when you've got, say, something like this, right? A potentially rough surface here. Now see how I just push that in? Just push that right in there. Some of the flower and grass tufts that you see, the glue on those is so, it's almost like crispy. Nothing holds like this, especially not over, I mean, it's a really rough surface right there. So I'm going to grab another one, maybe a small one. And this is the thing. That's what I really like about the Armored Wolf stuff, is that there are really small tufts too. So there's another one stuck right in here. Let's see if we can get one with just maybe one little flower on it here. Here, I think we got one over there. And we'll shove that one right here. Yeah, I'm kind of glad I went with a lighter flower. I think that's just going to show up a bit more. The rest of this, we're going to use our flock and other things to cover that. Now this one, it's actually some 3D printed mushrooms down there. Yeah, that's something I'm going to be doing a couple of basing videos with too, is talking about that and how to use those 3D printed bits. Where is this one going to go? Here or over here? Here or there? I'm going to just toss it here, I suppose. And move it around just a little, because it fits right about in that spot. And again, the glue is so flexible, it fits right there and it stays there. Let me get one for the other side here. Again, the glue is very flexible, which I really love about it. Okay, there's another nice little tuft. And I usually try to have maybe one on one side, one on the other, or kind of a rule of threes where it's more of a triangle. And let's do that. I don't know how many actual little flower bits we got. We got one little flower bit on there. You can also see there's a lot of different height here. What happens a lot of times with flower tufts is they're just a big clump, like just a solid mass of stuff, which I suppose is okay if you're doing terrain and you want a whole big field of it. But here, when you're really looking for something a little more targeted, might not work out quite so well. All right, let's grab these here. This is our basically Elrond. Yeah, now I'm really glad I went with the lighter stuff. And look at how tall these are. That is another thing. There's not just a variation in size, you can see that here, but there's a nice little variation in height. And it takes some extra energy and some extra time to really get some nice variance in the height. Believe me, haven't made these. So there's again another set of our printed mushrooms. I think I might try one more flower tuft over here. Maybe not that. Maybe this one here. Yeah, it's got a couple little flowers in it. So we'll just separate that. Throw that right over here. Press it down. Spread out the flowers. And there you go. Sorry if that was off camera. Apologize for that. It's a little tricky to keep it all in view there. So again, we put the flower tuft here. Not going to put one over here because there's really no space for it. On top here, really, do I want flowers growing out of the stone? No, I think that's what the leaves are for. That's what our grass is going to be for. So what we'll do is we're going to put the cut leaves. That would be these guys right over here. Put these guys on the base, and we'll do that next. With the tufts already added, we're going to get into just a couple of these cut leaves. And it's a simple process. You take a leaf, obviously in the fall, maybe you want to collect some leaves, stick those in a book to flatten them out. It's always best to cut the leaves sooner rather than later because once the leaves start getting crispy, it's that much more difficult to cut them. I don't do anything to treat them, and they've been fine for many years. Some folks use sort of a little bit of a glycerin type mix to maybe preserve the color a little bit more, but yeah, they haven't rotted or anything like that. Just like so many people throw spices on their bases like oregano. This is way better than oregano. Now we took that Luke's APS, the fast drying glue, we mixed that with the water to really thin it down. I'll never cease to be amazed at just how much hold this stuff has, even when it's been thinned down this much. And just to let you know, it has a tremendous amount of hold. Just be aware of that. Now I'm just going to try and get a little bit of this out here, and maybe we'll just try and throw a couple of leaves out there. Just a few leaves here. And sometimes you have to just play around with them just a bit there, get them to stay in place. Just a couple of leaves can make it look like the little forest floor action. Let's throw a little bit more of this glue right here. Then let's pick ourselves out a couple of leaves just to throw right out here. And it does take hold of it pretty darn quick. Now let's get some up here. Right here. And we don't want to cover up too much of the texture. Another little leaf right here. Let's do one more there. Thinking a couple over here. Sometimes maybe where the roller texture wasn't as perfection as you might have wanted. Throw that there. Yeah, you don't always get the perfect roll. I mean, it is what it is, right? Not a big deal here. Let's get to the next one. Don't want to go berserk with it. I'm not even put any leaves down there. Maybe I'll go more with my ground cover. Again, I'm just gonna pick some leaves out here. Position some of those. Some are lighter, some are darker. Let's make sure that those are gonna have enough glue to actually stick there. And one of the reasons why I did that very watered down glue is that in some ways it gives it a bit of a capillary action, and I think you really see that when we get to the next stage where we're just going to add our ground cover and flock. See if I can just grab one of these here. Sometimes it's nice if they can just be kind of hanging off the edge a little bit like that. Maybe I will throw a couple of leaves down here. I know I did a recent Patreon video where the leaves wasn't so much delicately placed like this. It was all the stuff that's left over when you're done cutting the leaves, actually. It was just a whole bunch of kind of ground up leaves. And that looked sort of interesting. Made it there. So there we go. A little pile of leaves over there. Maybe something here too. Again, where it looks like maybe it would be more interesting. I know people have asked me, so why don't you just take cut paper or something like that? I've tried to use that. It just kind of looks like cut paper. This stuff actually, well, that's why we kind of call it replica nature, because Armored Wolf, in many ways, that saying of nothing replicates nature quite like nature. You know, what's going to look like a leaf? Well, a leaf. So maybe just use leaves. So again, just throwing a couple of these out here. Maybe not there. I think we'll go for a couple here. I have tons and tons, not more than a dozen, many dozens of basing videos on the Patreon page. Probably at this point about at least 65, somewhere between 65 and 70 basing videos. You can tell we kind of like basing because, I mean, look at this, right? You know, between the roller, the flowers, the leaves, and the ground cover, it's really going to look like a tiny diorama. So there's your leaves. Simple enough, right? The last thing we're going to do is add some of that flock. Last thing we got to do, and we're going to get to that next. This is our last step here of adding some of the ground cover, flock, turf, whatever you want to call it. Now this is from Luke's APS in Europe, geekgaming.com. That's where you're going to get that, or .co.uk. In the US, it's going to be Footsore North America, and I'll try and, as usual, toss maybe some links in the description for you. And then this is the Woodland Scenics flock right here. It comes in so many different colors. I usually like to mix this, say, with the brown, like almost a light brown, and then a very, very dark green sometimes. But we'll just go with what we have here. We have our watered down glue, like before. Our brush here. And what we'll do is now if you watch the episode where I was painting these, you'll kind of find out why I didn't do a whole lot of painting on the bases, because it's really not that necessary. And see how that it's basically like capillary action here. All right, we're going to throw a little bit of this on top of that glue. And the idea is it's more than just a color. There's a little extra texture, right? That is more realistic, I guess you could say, or more interesting than anything I could paint. And from someone who has painted many bases over the years, I kind of like the idea of just being able to do that. Just being able to take that texture, fill in that area. It takes a lot less time than painting it, and it also just looks a little bit better. So again, here trying to use the capillary action of this material. Try and drop that all the way down in there. Again, looks more interesting than just a bunch of stone, right? And depending on the colors that you use, you're going to get some different results. Let's do some of that up here now on this guy. And again, trying to make this more interesting. Little ground cover here. Get capillary action with that glue. Maybe a touch up there. Just drop this on here. It covers up the leaves a little bit. Now it looks like the leaves are actually part of something, right? It's kind of overgrown. See how the leaves look even more natural? Is it going to be 100% realistic? Probably not. I mean, these are meant to be used for playing games. These are not just little display things here. So we're doing all this on miniatures that, yes, we will be using to play games with, and hopefully have those battle reports up on the YouTube channel for you. Still working on the format of those, just how much you show every roll of the dice, or maybe just some of it. Look at that. So again, a lot more interesting texture there left behind. Let's do this one. So I know most people, they're just like, here's a flower tub, boom, done. And I mean, we certainly did a lot of that over the years. But if you want to take it a little bit further, and I mean, what, an extra 15 minutes max to do the same 3? That's it. To me, it's pretty well worth it. All right, just get the again, some of this material here. And there it is. That bite looks just so much more complete. We got one more base here. And then the kind of the last little bit, that's going to be adding that green flock. And if you notice, I've focused more on the ground level. It's ground cover after all. So I'm not doing that so much up here, but more, again, along the ground level here. Okay, the stone ends up looking more like stone because of the texture difference now. And again, I'm going to try and use the capillary action of that very watered down Luxe PS glue. You could also potentially use wood glue. I might give that a shot, actually, just a test to see if it really works the same. There's several different types of wood glue, actually. There's more of a fast set. There's a strong. There's several different types. So we'll experiment with a couple of different ones and see what we get. This is actually another 3D printed bit here. That is a friend of mine who has been sculpting some basing bits too. All right, I might just a little bit of that darker, or this type of ground cover, let that get onto the upper surface too. Again, just throw that all down in there, and looks much more like a forest floor to me. One more step to go, and this is our green here. Go back to the first one. Go back to the first one. We'll get some of this, and now we'll throw that maybe up here even to give that a little bit of it's like a moss type of a thing. You won't do too much of it here. Let me just throw a little bit out here. Just a smidge, and maybe there's even some glue from the previous layer, but now again, it's another little extra layer of texture. Can't hurt. Color, texture. It adds to the atmosphere of it. I mean, these are elves after all. It's supposed to be I mean, from some kind of a woodland realm, so why not have some greenery there? So there's a bit more. Let's do our 2 cavalry bases now. Let's get a bit of that up here and some down here too. And we could put some on the tree here. A little bit of moss in there. Let's get some on the side of the rock again. Oh yeah, we don't want to forget our tree. Our little stump over there. So again, it's working with our previous application of the darker ground cover. Maybe ideally you let that other stuff dry completely before you do this. I don't mind that they sort of mix and match a little bit. I was sort of counting on that. Oh, what the heck, a little bit work its way up there too. Even the way this was done, you can see there's a little bit of almost like static grass sticking out of there. Well, it is actually static grass. It's one of the Luke's APS, another one of their ground cover things that I use in making of the base itself. So again, a little bit more, a little more color, a little more texture. And then we'll do this one here. This is our last base. Okay. Get a little bit of that up on the top level there. Add in our flock now. So you can see we're again not trying to cover up all the ground cover. We're just trying to add to it. Oh, what the heck? Maybe let a little bit go there. Some down here. It might also kind of accentuate the border of where that broken stone piece is. Again, I have a ton of videos on how to use the texture rollers, so we're focusing just on the flock and the leaves and that sort of stuff in this video. I just wanted it to be a real quick one, nothing too long. The ones for the Patreon page, those are far more in-depth. Those are a couple hours long usually, or at least an hour and a half long, because we're really trying to cover a lot. All right, there we go. Look at that. Fantastic. That's what I was hoping to see. Also, look at this, a red versus green contrast. And now it really does play well also too against the flowers. The flowers don't look quite so like, why are they growing up out of just dead ground? So that mossy green also provides a little bit of life here into something that might otherwise be bland. When you're painting these things, sometimes it's hard to kind of factor that in. You get a little more used to it, I think, as time goes along. Now, there's one more little final thought that I want to do here and just show you doing something like this using the Tufts on a desert style base, just so you can see what those look like, and we'll do those next. Just wanted to show off one more of the Tufts here. Yeah, this is what I've used for winter basing and then also for things like Harad. Now, I think I might have one example here. I'm using that same tuft right here on my Iron Hill Dwarves. So again, it's a nice winter tuft also. So it works really well for either one. And you got some really fantastic, like a deep forest color here, sort of a wastelands, badlands. But I was thinking of using this as more of a desert type theme. So you can see these are some figures from Diwali right here that we painted. And actually this is part of an army painting series, an ongoing series actually, where we did the sand dunes and everything else. You can see here, they're actually the same bulletin board cork that those elves are mounted on. The difference is no Sculpey on top. So again, that's that same bulletin board cork there, just in bits. Now let's see if we can get a couple of these strategically placed here. And it's the same exact method as before. I could get some sand and some other things too to place on this. So, I mean, that right there, that just starts to add so much to it, doesn't it? We even did a little cracked earth. Yeah, you can see some of that. I think that was the Green Stuff World crackle paint. I don't want to go berserk with the Tufts, not too many of them, but just enough to give this, again, a little extra texture. Let's throw one here between the... Now we'll throw one over there. Just settle for it right there. Again, the glue is very flexible, allows that to stick. So very quick, very easy, right? No problem at all. And it just finishes off that base. For as much as time as we spent doing other elements, again, like the sand dunes and stuff, maybe even there's a little bit of a grassy tuft there, not a bad idea. So what we want to do is, again, we'll take a look at some of our other elves here. Look at the difference. My goodness. Right? Very elfy, and this is very much a desert, kind of a wasteland right here. So again, the texture rollers, the leaf cutters from Green Stuff World, miniatures mostly from Kurzlook, also Diwali, and then some GW miniatures. And of course, last but not least, we want to thank Armoured Wolf for the fantastic replica nature. Now, this is not quite up on his Etsy store yet. Here, let me just see if I can't throw this out here and show you what other fantastic things you can find on the Armoured Wolf Etsy store. So, tons of dice bags, lots of leather goods. The dice bags are really amazing, lots of custom work. So, let's say you maybe have a favorite Lord of the Rings army or something like that, and you want a dice bag to match that. Well, Armoured Wolf has got you covered. So again, replica nature right here. This is coming soon. It's not officially on the Etsy page yet. There's just a bit of a preview. We've been using these tufts for a while, but now it's just about time for the actual launch to begin. So thank you so much for watching this, everybody. I mean, if it's helpful, you know, the like, subscribe, ring the bell sort of thing. Don't want to waste too much time on that. What we want to talk about is miniatures, right? Because just a little bit of tufts, a little bit of flock here, strategically placed, can just add so much more into your bases without a whole lot of effort. So thanks again, everybody, and I'll see you on the next basing video.